back and undoubtedly better than ever. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the 2023 Ford Ranger Raptor. Now, obviously, on this episode of Behind the Wheel, we'll go through the exterior, the interior. I have no words. Its engine and performance, so confidence-inspiring, mind you, that it can probably take on a river or two. But more importantly, we want to find out if indeed this next generation Raptor is, well, a worthy truck to be your next adventure vehicle. And when I say worthy, it's because, well, it does cost a pretty penny. $99, 100. The amount of tire in contact with the road is called flex. More load or low tire pressure will cause flex, leading to increased heat, pressure, and boom, resulting in a tire blowout just like this. Here's a quick demonstration. Earl by himself on my Vespa results in acceptable flex. Adding a second passenger increases the load on the tire. And flex, which is what it is, not only increases the heat and pressure on the tire, but also, well, aggravates Earl. Keep things in check by understanding a specific tire's purpose. Say, for example, be it for a single or double axle. Locate the tire pressure numbers on the sidewall and follow them. Don't treat these labels as suggestions. Keeping your tires at the correct pressure for the given load reduces flex and saves you from unnecessary replacement and possible even expenses and, well, danger as well. Start at the very beginning by getting good quality tires like Aeolus, which can maintain their structure better thanks to quality steel gauges and its internal structure with the history and pedigree and extensive R&D to back it up. Aeolus and Pirelli have been working together to build high-grade commercial tires since 2016, and in 2022, Aeolus officially acquired and welcomed the Pirelli brand into the Aeolus Group. Combining their expertise has now spearheaded the Aeolus Group into the top 20 tire brands in the world. No matter what, Aeolus is the only option for people wanting the perfect balance between quality, performance, and price. Stay in business with Aeolus. Now, when I say pretty penny, it's because it comes in at 2,339,000 Philippine pesos. It's about 339 more than the previous generation. Now, the Raptor sits at the top of the line of the whole Ranger platform, much like the GRS sits at the top of the line for Hilux and then the Pro 4X for the Navara. But its price is actually closer to that of 7-seater PPV, so much higher than those that I just previously mentioned. However, it does come with a lot of kit and capability that we're very, very excited to show you. Let's start up front. You've got your C-clamp headlamps, which are the design now of new, or rather next generation products from Ford, obviously. You've got your Matrix LED headlamps, very smart headlamps, and your fog lamps found down below as low as possible and as wide as possible because the car is quite large. And then underneath, you've got a real skid plate. That's not a toy. It's there for a reason. And then, of course, a grille large enough to, well, to swallow Jack and I and all of our camera equipment. I mean, look at the size of this thing. Ford. To say that this car is large is, well, that's an understatement. You gotta see this. Look at how big this automobile is. I'm gonna stand next to it and look. My chest doesn't even clear the hood. I feel like Kevin Hart standing next to The Rock. Or me standing next to anybody, really. That's sad. It is very, very tall. In fact, it is 71 millimeters taller than your standard Ranger. And what that gives you is that it gives you 272 millimeters of ground clearance, more than enough to take you through any terrain as an amateur adventurist. Maybe not professional, but definitely more than enough that you need. And then that's also helped because you've got 2.5-inch Fox shocks found underneath. And that, my friend, are things of beauty because you've got them up front and at the rear. You're equipped with 70-inch wheels wrapped in 70 series tires, the width of 235. Now, they may be all-terrain tires, but they look like the teeth of Blue from Jurassic World, ready to take on a human. The side mirrors, you'll note, are actually quite large because they need to house the repeaters and part of the cameras that are of the 360-degree view. But what I like is that the bezel is actually quite small, so it doesn't look like it's very large from inside the automobile. You've got an aluminum or aluminium, depending on which side of the pond that you're from, side step, which means business. This thing is durable and non-slip. Now you'll notice on the body of the Raptor, it's unlike the Ranger because it's got bulges and whatnot on the side. That's because it sets it apart from just your standard Ranger, but also because it's got much wider track. It's got a wider track and it's also got wider tires. The one thing, however, unfortunately, is because of this girth that it has, it is devoid of the step that you would normally find on the Ranger, which I do kind of miss. At the back, you have more than just your standard C-shaped LED headlamps because it does have, yep, I can see it, the blind spot radar insignia here, which means that it actually aids you when you're towing something very, very long, much like you'll find on the standard Ranger. You've got a large Ford badge with a camera found under there. Tow hooks on the bottom, by the way, which can pull a hippo. Don't ask me why I know this information. It's Jack. It is an assisted tailgate, which means my daughter can actually put this up and down if she wanted to. Inside the bed, which has a liner, I like very much because it's very, very durable. You will find two ports, a standard plug and then a 12-volt socket, which you can use to charge almost anything when you're working behind the pickup truck. Then you've got anchor points found in the back of the vehicle. Also found on the tailgates are these areas where you can put a clamp down if you need to work on the pickup truck and on the back of the bed, obviously. And then it's got, like I said, a tail lift gate assist, which shows you, I like this, the third brake light is actually found here instead of on the car itself. That's actually pretty cool. Getting into the Raptor for under tall individuals like myself is very easy because you've got a handle to help you get inside the automobile. I like that. The seats. The seats are leather, but they are not the greatest of leather. But I think it's quite apt inside this automobile because it's the type of leather that you can clean very, very easily, which is, you're gonna need it in an adventure pickup truck. But I gotta mention these seats. They look at it. They look absolutely great. And the accents, I think, are just right. A little bit of orange there for the Raptor. Code Orange, by the way, is the name of the color of the automobile outside, which can be found inside, and the accents on the automobile inside, like the leather and the stitching as well. And you can find Code Orange also all over the dash. This, I gotta tell you though, that regardless of what color Ranger Raptor you get, the accents inside will still remain to be AutoDeal Orange. No, I'm kidding. It's Code Orange is what it's called. Now, I don't mean to backtrack or anything, but these seats, easy to get into your driving position because I have power, and whatever else that I can do inside this automobile, or rather inside this seat, which is up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, select, start, you can do the exact same thing in the passenger chair because it has the exact same switches that the driver has, including for the passenger, lumbar support, which, by the way, isn't just one ball that enters the back of your spine, but it's rather two that goes on either side of your spine, so it supports your muscles. It's quite unique. Okay, to get to the instrument cluster, it is a large 12.3-inch screen. You've got your tachometer and speedometer there and all the drive trips and computers that you need, as well as small little gauges that you can customize, that you can pop out any information it is that you need, temperature or whatnot. And then you can also see what drive mode you're in, which is, you can select what drive mode that you're here, which has a pretty cool animation all the way from normal to mud and ruts. That's actually quite unique. The steering wheel is something that is probably familiar to a lot of people because you'll find the same steering wheel and functions as you will on a Ranger. The only difference is you've got a Raptor badge found down here. But you've got the same amount of buttons on the left, same amount of buttons on your right, and then paddles as well. Now, yes, Mr. Rooster, I'll get to that. The massive 12-inch screen that you find inside this automobile is the same as the top-of-the-line Rangers, which is that it's got all your functions that you need inside it. It's got Android and Apple capabilities. Yes, I'm getting to it. Now, what the Rooster is trying to make me tell you is the fact that Jack is in love with this automobile because it's got physical buttons for your air and your audio. Now, the functions can also be found inside the infotainment, but to get to it much faster, the buttons are found right there. Doesn't stop there. You've got your wireless charging pad found down below, 2 charging points as well. You've got your Type A and your Type C. Your electronic gear shifter. Dude, I just did it already. Calm down. The electronic gear shifter, electronic parking brake. And then what Jack seems to find kind of odd is the fact that the start-stop engine button is found here rather than it being, let's say, found here. I don't have a problem with it because, well, Jack should be used to it because he drives an automobile that still uses a key for the ignition, and that's actually where it should go. So I don't know what he's really complaining about. Oh, and cool too. Check this out. I've never seen this on any automobile before, but I'm gonna back up my chair here so you can get a great view. There are lots of storage spaces inside this car. The 2 cup holders here. You've got a tray here. You've got a deep box here in the middle. You've got a line here that you can put some small stuff on. Storage space found up here. Glove box found down here. And even here, check this out. You've got cup holders that appear out of nowhere. But the most impressive one for me is actually found on the door because not only does it fit my bottle, which is a solid bottle, but on that same door, I can fit Jack's massive bottle. Look at that. Oh, sorry, that's out of view. Look at that. That's, I have no words. At the rear, you'll have a decent amount of headroom and legroom, enough for 2 large adults. Not really much to talk about because they are bench seats after all. You've got your center armrest with 2 cup holders. And then in front of that, you've got your 2 air vents. You've also got charging points, including a 230-volt plug, which is actually quite nice. Now, there will be some customers, potential customers, fans of Ford, keyboard warriors, that will say that this sucks because there is no, my lord, I'm so short, there is no V6 option available for the next generation Ford Ranger Raptor. But, and I'm saying this though I've never driven a V6 before, I can attest to the power that is inside this vehicle, which is derived from a 4-cylinder 2-liter bi-turbo that produces 207 horses and 500 newton meters of torque. It's the same engine found on the Wildtrak. And did I mention that it's on a 10-speed automatic transmission? Yeah, I should mention that. Again, the same with the Wildtrak. But the power inside this automobile is strong enough that Ford themselves put disc brakes front and rear, and that power, I can tell you, is more than enough to send this car flying. Although I gotta say that we're definitely not doing that today. I want to, but unfortunately the car is insured, but I'm not. Do you have any idea how much it costs to insure an idiot like me? It's like insuring a Ford GT. Not because I'll appreciate with time, but because I'm a liability. Oh, and as an extra goodie here up front, when you want to install auxiliary items into your pickup truck, you don't necessarily have to drill through the dashboard to get it done. You've actually got switches up here, right? You've got a total of 6 switches. So if you, let's say, for example, you wanted to add a winch, or you wanted to add lights, or you wanted to add a margarita maker, or make Ferrari go faster. Yeah, that's not gonna happen. Make Max go slower. That's not gonna happen either. Make me taller. Yeah, that's really not gonna happen. And then of course you've got your taco holder. But enough of that, let's go for a drive and tell you what this car feels like on and off the road. But before we do please subscribe to our channel if you haven't yet. And please give this video a like because Jack's life depends on it.
Please. Thank you.
When you're on flat roads, it's actually quite calm and comfortable, really, despite its rough and tough exterior. It's kind of throwing me off. I mean, the suspension definitely rides better than your standard Ranger. Well, thanks obviously largely to the Fox shocks that are found on this automobile. And the steering is actually quite heavy. Not in a bad way, actually in a good way, because then it communicates a lot to the driver. And trust me, although it's not what you would expect from the previous Ford models out there, like let's say for example the X-Ped, which is like really like a toy. You can twirl it even with your pinky finger. You want a heavier steering inside this automobile because of all it's capable of. The ADAS system in here, or Advanced Driver Assist System, is actually very good, which includes obviously the low speed follow that the automobile has. Now, that's actually a big help inside the city, especially since everybody's traveling so slowly now that it's rainy season and there are potholes left and right. So even when there are potholes, you just click the low speed follow on and you're just cruising along without a care in the world. It's going over potholes like there's no tomorrow. The NVH is also something I want to point out because it's very, very quiet in here. The thing is, Jack and I weren't expecting it to be quiet in here because, well, we've shown you the tires, right? That should be noisy. Supposedly, it is. We don't hear it. Previous generations of the Ranger, you would hear the engine a lot more inside the automobile. It's something that very unique to Ford. Like, you always know that it's a diesel engine in front of you because of the sound. Here, yes, you still can tell, but I'm glad that they've toned it down ever so slightly. I would also like to report the fuel efficiency of this automobile. Unfortunately, I can't afford the highway, but I can tell you inside the city, and boy was it fun, inside the city when it was downpouring, cats and dogs and potholes all over the place, the kind of traffic where you're sitting inside the car and you've moved all of 25 feet in a span of 30 minutes. That kind of traffic, which everybody who lives in the Philippines knows about that. We were doing roughly about 6.75 kilometers per liter, which I agree is knocking futz. But hey, what are you gonna do? It was traffic. It's the best that I could do. The transmission of this automobile, as I mentioned earlier, is a 10-speed automatic. It's not a CVT, it's not a DCT, and I'm glad that it is a 10-speed automatic because it doesn't act like a 10-speed automatic. See, most people would think that with that many gears, the car is going to start thinking and second-guessing itself, trying to figure out which particular gear to be on, depending on your driving style. But the car is clever enough that it knows just exactly which particular gear to be in, whether you're going to bury the throttle or not, or when you're stuck in traffic. So the transmission works very well. And that goes very, very well with the power that is available inside this automobile. Now, again, it's not the V6 that everybody would have put their arms up for and got on their knees and begged for. But really, it's more than enough power, really more than enough power to do most your every bidding, whether it be the most minuscule task or to take it off-road and really rip some earth open. And on the subject of power, I think that you may have a hard time looking for someone who would say that whatever power is inside this automobile is lacking, because what it has is definitely great enough, fantastic enough for your daily drives inside the city and your everyday errands and whatnot, but most especially also when you take it off the beaten path and have a little bit of fun, nay, a lot of fun. So confidence-inspiring, mind you, that it can probably take on a river or two. Nope. Off-road? Yeah, it's stable and sturdy. It feels really, really good. Now, earlier I said that the steering wheel is a bit on the heavier side. You need that. On trails like this, I wish that it was a lot lighter to give me just an easier time. But the truth is, you want a little bit of weight on that steering because you want that communication back to you. And speaking of communication, you have a really good relationship with the automobile because you've got paddles. Now, it's definitely not going to be for a racy feel, but you need paddles to perhaps downshift if you need more torque and power to go uphill. Or perhaps you need to hold the car a little bit longer on a specific gear when you're going downhill. And that I do very much appreciate. Oh, and speaking of downhill, there is also, of course, downhill descent control. So that's added confidence to your off-road capabilities. Then there's the fact that there are just all types of drive modes available in this automobile. You can go through sand, you can go through slippery, you can go through rocky, you can go through mud and ruts, anything and everything, including obviously towing. So it just, out of the box, it's just ready to take on anything. The car's default will be on 2 high, obviously when you're just a little bit of off-road and when you're on the highway. But then obviously you can switch to 4 high, which will give you traction on all 4 tires. And then when things get a little bit hairier, you can get to 4 low. And then obviously that's added by the lock-in differential to give you that extra grip, that extra power in your rear wheels. Then there is an option of 4A or 4 automatic, which basically means that the car operates much like an all-wheel drive system. So it's biased to the rear, but then when you need it, all 4 tires turn. I like that. It's like the smart mode. The fun factor of this car is really off the charts, and it's because it's coupled with confidence. I'm going over terrain that I should be traveling at maybe 10, 15 kilometers per hour, and yet I'm doing it at 25, close to 30 kilometers per hour. Now, I wanted to use an analogy that will really resonate with a lot of people, and which is going to be, well, imagine that you, the passenger, are a child, and the car is either your parent or your guardian. And the automobile, much like your parent or guardian, will say that nothing is going to ruin your fun as a child. And I am going to protect you. I got you, fam. I got you. And that's exactly what this automobile feels like when you're driving over any terrain. It's got you covered. You feel safe inside the automobile and you're allowed to have fun. Much like any parent or guardian will allow any child to do because, well, you're a child. In this case, I am a child. The next generation Ford Ranger Raptor. Look at how small I am next to this thing. It is a fun, capable, and off-road ready vehicle straight from the showroom floor. But yes, admittedly, it does come at a price. But if you really think about it, there aren't many vehicles that can go straight out of the showroom floor and do anything and everything that this vehicle can do. So to bring it back to the question, could this be your next adventure truck? Even at the hefty price? I'd say yeah. I think it really should be.